Hello, 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 hello. We are back. I've been away for a little while. Apologies for that, guys, but I am here to talk West Ham. Um, it's been a crazy few months, isn't it? I feel like personally, I've had loads of stuff going on. So that's why I haven't been here quite often as much as I would like. But also talking about West Ham, it's been an interesting couple of months, isn't it? The season I don't think has gone as planned. Well, definitely not as to how I'd had expected. I had really high hopes going into this season, and I know although we're only we're not having a great start to the season. I know we are only like 14th in the league. I think the manner of all performances so far this season have been pretty shocking. And for myself, I've been fortunate enough to go to the majority of games this season, and I haven't seen any progression from week one to where we are now. So be interesting to catch up with you guys. Obviously, it's been a little while. I think it's been about a month since my last show. As I said, lots of stuff going on for me personally. So apologies for not being around, but obviously Russ and everyone on the channel have been doing great content. So for anyone who's missed the show, apologies. But I am here and will be here for the foreseeable on Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. Let's get some hellos in the chat. How are we doing? Right. Randy was in here nice and early. He's got 4 comments. Let's have a read of them. Hello, Jamie. How you doing? For this situation to escalate the way it has by Sullivan is disgraceful, and by not admitting he was wrong, he feels the pressure will be supporting the choices. Hope everyone is doing well, enjoying the break. Another head coach, which could be good. Choice is Dino Topmoller at Frankfurt. Currently third, plays the 4-2-3-1. That suits our players and likes to play a pressing game. I don't ever see us press as much. Yep, thanks for all that, Randy. Appreciate it, mate. I'm not too familiar with Dino Topmoller, but obviously Frankfurt have been there or thereabouts in the European competitions for the last few years. So yeah, right. Hang on a minute. I can see that there is a different layout on here. So let's get rid of that. That should get rid of that for you guys. Okay, let's get that up there. Perfect. Right, back to the chat. Mark, how you doing, mate? Evening to yourself. How are you all doing? How are you doing specifically, Mark? Usual suspect. What a man. Back again. Good evening, all. Barry, the man himself. Hiya, Jamie. Hope you're all good. I am well, mate. How are you doing? Randy, how you doing, mate? Robbo, hey, Jamie. In my opinion, lobby out, kite off early. Mark says, evening, Jamie. Do you think Tim will walk? Oh, these were the big questions. Usual suspect. Thus far, Lopetegui has been a total disaster, however you dress it up. Usual suspect. Giving a shout out back to Randy. And joke hole progression, mate. You're joking. We could have copied and pasted our style from pre-season. I said we haven't had any progression from week one. That's what I said. West Ham this season have been massively underwhelming. Let's be clear. I think the only real achievement that Lopetegui has so far this season is making our best players look average. I think that's the only thing that has progressed from the start of the season. Players like Jared Bowen, Mohamed Kudus, Lucas Paquetá have largely been anonymous all season. And Kudus even went and got himself a 5-match ban. Rightfully so, by the way. Stupid behaviour. There's been no progression from this footballer side. And please don't think that's what I'm saying. I've sat through every home game. I've been to every home game this year so far, other than one, actually. The Man United game, ironically. I was on holiday. And yeah, it has been diabolical viewing. So don't think I'm saying anything else otherwise. It is a shame, though, because I had really high hopes going into this season. And as much as I think we are getting to that point where progression needs to happen or there will be a change of the manager, I just can't see the board cutting ties and trying a new manager just yet. I think he'll probably have until at least Christmas. And if we are still languishing near the bottom of the table, then I think that's when the alarm bells will start going off. Top man, joke hole. Sorry, misunderstood you there, mate. Misunderstood you. But yeah, we've been shocking. I agree with you, mate. Barry, how you doing, mate? All good, thanks, bro. Getting things together to start my own business, but all good here. Shout out to Barry. Sounds amazing, mate. Hope it's all going well. Starting businesses are stressful, so hope it all goes as smooth as possible. Fremmer, what a man. How you doing, mate? Robbo, I'd love Slaven's boy Turcic, I think his name is. See, it's an interesting one, but I mean, what we're 5-10 minutes into the show, and I've had 2 recommendations for managers, and we got what was it, Dino Topmoller and Terzic. I don't know a thing about Topmoller. Terzic got hounded out of Dortmund. The fans didn't want him there either, so it's like it is an interesting dynamic, you know. I'm not going to say he'd be good or bad because, quite frankly, I just don't know. I don't watch enough of the Bundesliga. Don't watch as much football as I used to. Unfortunately, I know obviously he was assistant under Slav, and then went to Dortmund, but it didn't go well at Dortmund. So I used to say that he's deserving of a first team job here. I'll tell you one thing that's like the real kick in the teeth at the moment for Lopetegui is I do feel like there's potential for things to turn around. And I mean, it was very similar at Wolves when he took over there. Like they were very poor at the start, and then things started turning around when he initially took them over, and then they went into the new season and he ended up leaving. And Gary O'Neill went and did a better job anyway. But that's the real kick in the teeth for me. Like I'm looking at kind of the squad that West Ham have assembled, and I naively at the start of the season, you know, had a tweet go viral that said West Ham had won the Champions League, won the transfer market, and now I'm getting people tweet me every weekend when West Ham drop stinkers. But I think the real kick in the teeth is you look at the squad that we've assembled, and it is a good squad. Let's be clear about that. But I also think the manager is massively underperforming. I think the team selection is never quite right. I think he doesn't know his top, you know, his starting 11, and not only that, like the football hasn't been good. You know, he's pinning all his hopes on kind of like defensive recycling and attacking wing backs and putting all of his hopes in 2 wing backs that have got 4 assists in the league in the last 3 years. So it's a very baffling and intriguing approach at the moment. I'm not saying that like things can't turn around, but I look at every other mid-table manager in the league at the moment, and I think they could probably be doing a better job at West Ham right now. You know, looking at people like, you know, the likes of Thomas Frank or Sean Dyche or who else? Nuno Espirito Santo. I know obviously Nottingham Forest are flying high, but you know, teams in and around the middle of the Premier League, Areola at Brentford, for example. You look at all of these kind of teams, and I think a lot of their managers could probably be outperforming Lopetegui now. I know that's kind of like speaking in, it might be hyperbole, it might be hypothetical, it might be a bit of an over exaggeration. It's very well possible that it could all be those things. But I just look at how West Ham are performing with the squad that we have, and we have a better squad than a lot of the teams we're surrounded by. Obviously, maybe except Man United, and we're just terrible. I would actually go as far as to say that we are one of the worst sides in the league in terms of like how we're playing at the moment. And like, you know, we've got 3 wins so far. The last win against Man United was the luckiest win I've ever seen in my life. It's never a penalty in the month of Sundays. It's like everything that's wrong with football at the moment that went to VAR and we got a penalty. But like, if we don't get that result, you know what, we're sitting after 11 games on 9 points. We'd be like 17th in the league or 18th, 16th, 17th in the league. So we're lucky to be 14th at the moment, in my opinion. And I think the other 2 wins, Crystal Palace, we kind of fluked our way through that. First half, we got absolutely battered. Second half, we got a bit of a performance out there. And I'm trying to think who the other win was. It was against Ipswich, wasn't it? And we weren't even that great against Ipswich. Like Ipswich just let us batter them. So, I mean, I'm looking at everyone else that surrounded us. I don't even think they're necessarily worse than us. You know, so we're poor. We're massively poor. Let's get back to the chat. All right. Vince, Loppy is going nowhere. That means Sullivan admitting he got it wrong, and that won't happen. He'll blame everyone else apart from himself. We've been proper crap this season. Missing Kudus and the red cards we've had has made it look bad, as we can't use all our players at the same time. I honestly believe even after inevitable defeats to Newcastle and Arsenal, he'll still be here. Lee, good to see you, mate. Thanks for coming in. Randy, Jamie, this situation should never have happened in the way it's been allowed to happen. Everyone might have a part to play, but if he does go, Lopetegui, the next coach, must be the right choice. But who is the right choice? Like that's the question. I've seen rogue shouts in the last few days from people like Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I think it's an interesting shout to say the least. He didn't do too bad in his cameo appearances at Man United, but I'm not sure I want him in charge of the football club just yet. Mandy, hi Jamie. What baffles me is that Lopetegui does have a proven managerial record with Sevilla and did manage a national team. Why does he look lost with this squad? That's an interesting one, and I mean, he's got a if you look at his footballing CV, it's an interesting one to say the least. Obviously, yeah, built up his name in the Spanish youth squads, ended up getting the national team job, but Real Madrid announced that he was taking the Real Madrid kind of job, and then he got sacked on the eve of an international tournament for the Spain, and then ended up going to Real Madrid, and I think he lasted like about 10 to 15 games before getting sacked. Rebuilt his reputation at Sevilla, went to Wolves. Kind of that was a bit of a murky time at Wolves where he ended up leaving, and then obviously went to us. So he's done well at Sevilla, but he has had questionable moments in different clubs, and even now I'm still unsure of the manager. I really am. Like again, for everything that I've said, that we've been terrible. Like there's been no progression. Let's be clear, there has been no progression, and I think I don't like harping back to David Moyes. And whenever I tweet anything, people always like to throw David Moyes at me. I don't like harping back to David Moyes, but if we look at the strengths, like it was, I'll caveat this: David Moyes had to go. It was his time for the club. I think the fans had 100% kind of turned their back on him, or a majority of the fans anyway. And I think that narrative became too loud for the board to not listen to. And I think he was always going to go. I think that, coupled with the fact that, listening to David Moyes' comments in the last few weeks, where he was offered a contract, then the contract changed, and yada yada yada. The writing on the wall was for David Moyes to go, and we weren't good enough last season, to be clear. But there were things about West Ham last year that were very good, and it made us very potent and very, it wasn't the best looking football at times, but there were things of us where we could be dangerous. Lopetegui seems to have taken everything that was good about West Ham under the David Moyes era, in terms of that being like, that potent counter-attacking force where we can catch teams on the break with quick transitions and score goals with people like Kudus and Bowen and whatnot. And he's stamped on that. And now we seem to be a side like, we were a poor team last year. We had a few good wins here and there. I think about, Thursday nights away in North London, for example, beating Arsenal and beating Tottenham, for example. We were good. But in moments last year, we had really high points. And I think there were things to do with West Ham that were just, made us dangerous in a way. And Lopetegui has taken that, obviously shifted into a new style of football, and it's made everything else that was good in sparing moments last year kind of redundant. And now the only real high points that have come from us this year have been from moments of brilliance from people like Mohamed Kudus and Jared Bowen. We've not really got an identity or any sort of game plan. We seem to look a bit anonymous. And I think the back four is never settled. The midfield looks never settled. I think no one's really sure with, there's too many question marks around the squad and why players aren't fit and yada, yada, yada. I just think everything that was good about the David Moyes era has been taken and stomped on by Lopetegui. And we now have this fun of football team that has been assembled and in principle, there's a lot of good players in that team, but we're just not performing. So to answer your question, Mandy, I just think, I don't think he's got his message across or his way of thinking across to the players. And I also don't think some of the players that we've signed are good enough. Quite frankly, I was really excited about the signing of Guido Rodriguez, for example, and I think he's been very underwhelming. He looks like he's not up to it in this West Ham side. He's been quite frankly shocking. And yeah, to be honest with you, mate, Mandy, I'm not sure. Cockney boy, how you doing, mate? Evening, sir. I just watched the Edin Turch's masterclass on YouTube and I was impressed. Well worth a watch. Do you know what, Cockney boy? I will give that a watch after this, mate. Barry, I think it's time Bowen goes up front, Caruso on the right, Somerville on the left, and Paqueta as a 10. Antonio needs to drop in, and Areola needs to come back for the Prem. Evening book from Malden. Hello, Stu. I used to go Malden all the time as a kid, mate. Lovely part of the world. Randy, in my opinion, we need a coach that's outside the box. We need a coach that thinks outside the box and finds someone who can complement the players that plays the right system, even though the squad is better, but not quite there yet. That Fulkrug injury, I think, plays a massive part in how our season is going. Maybe. We're playing a higher line with people too far forward to make the runs back to defend, and our fullbacks are up front wingers, and our striker just goes wide on the wing as well. No one in the middle. If we want a lot more entertainment, Bielsa would be good, but do we want to run the risk of relegation with a manager like that? Oh, I've seen a lot of bad football this year so far. So what do I want? Do I want relegation? No. Do I think we could get relegated under Lopetegui? Probably not. I don't know if I'd change him just yet. I'd give him a few more games just to see if he can turn it around. But 11 games in, it's not looking pretty. I think if we get to like 15 games and it's still like this, then I think the manager has to go. And Bielsa wouldn't be a bad shout. I know he's Uruguay coach, though, so I don't know if he'd be willing to leave that. Usual suspect. Jamie, I think you're being very generous saying there you look poor. Chrissy James, here we go again. We never even had a new manager bounce. It's true. It's true. 4 wins in 19. I know, mate. I know. And as I said, I think a couple of those wins have been bloody shocking. Marco Silva and Antonio Areola are the two Prem coaches we should go for, or you go to the other leagues using data and finding the right fit for these players if you want progress. Randy, that was what I was kind of alluding to when I was talking about this a few minutes ago. I think you look at the kind of the teams that are around us in the league and the managers. I think of people like, O'Neill at Wolves, or Silva at Fulham, or Areola at Bournemouth, for example. I think even Sean Dyche, for example. I think a lot of these managers would come into this West Ham side and naturally just get better results than what Lopetegui is at the moment. And I think that's a worrying thing. And again, I said it a few moments ago. It's just not good enough. We're 11 games in and we look like completely redundant when we play football. We don't have any ideas. We're so one-dimensional, it hurts. We haven't had any high points at all this season, in my eyes. JLO has to go. Strong words from Stu. Did he get the players to play his style of football? I think that's an interesting one because, he's the first time in like 150 years that he hasn't been the manager of the football club. He's been a head coach, or he's obviously working with the director of football in kind of not director of football. What's Tim Steighton's official title? It's escaping me right now, but it's obviously working alongside Tim Steighton at the moment. And I imagine by committee they've come up with a list of players and got players that they wanted. So that's an interesting one. I can't say that to be sure. But I think a lot of the players were players that he wanted. People like Max Kilman, for example, who I would say has actually been a good signing. He's probably been one of our better players all year. So I think there's been some players that have come into the football club that were probably his signings for sure. There are some questionable ones, though, of course. But it's hard to judge 11 games into their West Ham careers. I love Bowen, but he needs to give the armband to Kilman so he can push on and concentrate on his game and get back to scoring goals, become the main man up front, outscore Antonio. You'd go to Kilman, would you? Interesting. I'll tell you what West Ham need. We need James Ward-Prowse back. I really miss James Ward-Prowse. Look how I think he was class for us in times last year. I know he's average at times, but you're telling me he couldn't do a job in this midfield right now? Like a competent ball-playing midfielder with incredible set-piece ability. Why did we let him go on loan to Nottingham Forest? It's beyond me, that one. Chrissy James. Teams change managers, but have good players. We have changed managers, but with a poor squad. Too many key parts missing, like a good car engine. Kudus should be played through the middle. No, we don't have an identity or game plan, but to be fair, the identity and game plan for Moyes' last 2 seasons were diabolical. Don't forget that. Not forgetting that at all, Fremmer. And when I talk about David Moyes, but to be clear, last year we were not good enough. We shipped 70 plus goals in the league. West Ham were terrible last year under David Moyes. Absolutely terrible. But there were things about West Ham that were positive. And all I'm saying is Lopetegui has taken those positive things, like, you know, your counter-attacking football and things like that, and stomped all over him. And now West Ham don't even have that. So we were a poor football inside last year, and we are the same poor football inside, but without the positives. I'm struggling to see any other positives, to be honest with you. The only times we see anything on a football pitch now, you know, at West Ham, for example, is when we have individual brilliance. You know, let's just think about some of the goals we've scored this season. Crystal Palace, for example, it took a 30, 40-yard run from Aaron Wan-Bissaka to unlock Bowen down the right-hand side, so then he could score, and then Thomas Soucek scores a deflection. Lucky goal, but it was the individual brilliance from Aaron Wan-Bissaka that created it. The Man United goal, the penalty there, we got gifted at the end of the game, you know, when we should have conceded like 4 or 5 in the first half if Man United had anything about them on the day. It's just individual moments of brilliance from players that are like kind of getting us over the line very occasionally, and we're getting found out a lot of the other times. So I'm not sitting here praising David Moyes. David Moyes is probably the greatest West Ham manager of my generation for sure. I'm 32, probably the best manager that I've seen in my West Ham lifetime for sure. But it was the time to go. But there were good things about him in the last year. You know, we weren't good enough, but there were still things that made us like dangerous. You know, made us a dangerous football team. It was just that 10% is now 0. That's all I'm trying to say. Alvarez too slow, Rodriguez too slow, Paqueta too slow, Soucek too slow, Antonio too slow now, Ings too slow now, squad too slow. To try and give some hope, Newcastle and Arsenal have exactly the same win-loss draw ratio as us over the last Premier League games: 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. Who have they played? That's what I want to know. Arsenal have had some tough games. I know that. Yeah, what an amazing couple of games they're going to be. I'm not looking forward to that. I have so many friends that are Arsenal fans. Obviously, being from London or Essex originally, but living in London, like 90% of my friendship is Arsenal. And one of my best mates is a Newcastle fan. So either game, if we lose, I'm getting it in the neck. Can't wait for those. Even when we played, Kudus was in the team. Lopetegui playing out of position too much. Yeah, you're not wrong, Randy. But it's like that whole dynamic is interesting. You know, like probably our 2 best players in the squad are Jarrod Bowen and Mo Kudus, and they're both right wingers, and one of them has to play out of position. I actually empathise with the manager on that. It's like, so he wants to play both. Where does he play him? Like, does he play Kudus centrally? I'm not sure. Like, he started with Kudus on the left, hoping it will work, and it clearly hasn't. I hope now that he brings Kudus inside and plays Paqueta on the left, like David Moyes did last season. But at the start of the season, who's to know that it wasn't going to work out? You know, when everyone's healthy, Alvarez and Paqueta next to each other, Somerville, Kudus, Bowen, and Fulgood up top. This might make us look very different. Maybe, Brian. You'd hope so, but like Alvarez hasn't been the same player this year either. You know, you look at the red card, or the second yellow he got at Nottingham Forest the other week was so poor. Like it was just an insight into how bad West Ham have been in general. That yellow card was such bad decision making. It was just terrible. So I don't even have much faith in Alvarez at the moment. And at the start of the season, I was saying he should get captaincy. So I don't know. Paqueta and Alvarez in a midfield, I'm not 100% sure in that. Paqueta gives the ball away too much. And Alvarez, I'm not 100% sure in him at the moment. Maybe if it was a free man, I don't know who the third man would be. Maybe like a Guido Rodriguez or someone, or a Soucek, I don't know. Can we recall James Ward-Prowse? Let's hope we can. I'll give him to the beginning of December. If the results ain't good enough, he has to go. I think that's probably a good sentiment there, Stu. Iraola got his philosophy across after 4 games. Lopetegui has been here 6 months now, and the players fans are none the wiser with what his philosophy is. It's true. It is true. Saying that, we beat Bournemouth at the start of the year in the cup, didn't we? So clearly Iraola didn't get his philosophy across on that night, even though it was a poor game for both sides. But still, we have no pattern of play. 2 defensive midfielders is a strong midfield. We've got no one to carry the ball forward. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely, Kilman is a great player, Loppy's favourite, and he plays every game and has done done it before. Bowen looks lost and ain't scoring like he used to. I think it's because he's not getting as many chances as well, by the way. Our league form was terrible under Moyes. You're not wrong, Mandy, but we had good moments under David Moyes last year. Even when we were terrible, still pulled out big wins in big moments. And they were a result of being a counter-attacking team and potent in the counter-attack. And we don't have that at the moment, is what I'm saying. Has Tim bought the right players for a JDO system? Well, on the face of it, at the moment, it looks like no, doesn't it? It looks like the players aren't doing a good job. I think there are some players who are kind of hot, holding their head up high in a way. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka at times has been good. I think at times he's looked suspect, but I think everyone else has. I think Max Kilman has been good for the majority of the time. I think Somerville, when given an opportunity, has done quite well. And then obviously other players haven't really shone at the moment. I think Todibo hasn't done enough for me so far. He's looked a bit slow at times, if I'm honest. This is a very lazy comparison. And at times, to me, he's just looked like a Zuma version 2, like Zuma before he lost the pace, And if he can get it right, then that's actually not a bad centre-back. But at times, he's been quite poor, quite sloppy. I look at him, for that last goal against Nottingham Forest when we lost 4-0. Obviously, Aina had the banger and Callum Hudson-Odoi had the banger as well. I think he was involved in both of them. I think, Todibo's been poor at times. I know he's obviously coming into the team, has been given a starting spot in the last few weeks. I think he needs to be given a little bit more time before I give a real judgment on him. But outside of Kilman, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Somerville, I'm not willing to say everyone is doing quite well at the moment. We need James Ward-Prowse ASAP. Our corners are shite now. We need Areola back too. Fabianski is not good. The worst thing about this is a negative show today, isn't it, guys? I ain't been around for a month, and all we're doing is saying how shit West Ham are. The worst thing about Lopetegui is that he never played all our players in their natural position with the right tactics and set us up positively, but also not delivered the bare minimum of performances. Especially playing Kudus at left wing did not work. I am behind on the chat. So for a few minutes, I'm going to read all your comments out just to catch up. More of an emphasis on Championship players for the transfer window. Who would you look at? I'll be honest with you, Will. My Championship knowledge this season is poor. Other than watching West Ham games at the moment, I'm not getting a lot of time to watch much football. I'm so busy with work and things happening in my personal life at the moment. I've got no idea. But I know a lot of the better players in the Championship were picked up at the end of last season. And that Jonathan Rowe ended up going. I know Sammy Schmodix ended up going. Quite a few big players left. So anyone who's performing to a high standard, I know Morgan Rogers obviously ended up going to Aston Villa. After his loan anyway. I think, whoever's performing well in the Championship, let's give him a good look. I know there was a guy at South Sunderland that we were linked with before in the past. I don't know how much truth there would be in that one. Moyes had too many favourite players, didn't get a look in. We would have had Obama to pull on as Antonio done. Kone would be a player still. I'm not sure about that. Unfortunately, Jolo is the wrong fit in the way Manuel Pellegrini clear was. Poor Lucas Paqueta's mindset has been ruined by the gambling charges and destroyed his season. I heard a crazy rumour about Southgate taking over at London Stadium. I just think we need somebody like Marco Silva, who's obviously committed to the passing game and who can make us more clinical up front. Fulkrug, still missing players. Family game shows in Germany. Maybe the price is right or not right. Piqueras an 8. Don't need 3 in the middle just for the sake of it. The leaks in our defence last season made Thames Water look like a vacuum chamber. No team can function with a 35-year-old lone striker. True. The owners need to put their hands up and say we've got it wrong second and bring in Potter. Interesting. Right. If anybody needs cheering up, let's read this one from Joe. If anybody needs cheering up, West Ham fans could turn my book of football's poetic license that falls online. I'll actually recall about West Ham, Come On You Irons, the FA Cup, Premier League, Champions League, my late and wonderful mum and dad. There's a warm eulogy to my dad, Grandpa Jack, World Cup, England, USA, Euro 2020, Europa League, the Carabao Cup, football grounds in Ilford FC, my local team growing up. Joe, I am going to stick that on my Christmas list. Absolutely. Football's poetic license. All right. I'm going on foils right now. And I'm going to buy that for my dad for Christmas, mate. So thank you very much. Give me 1 second. Bear with me. You have just got football's poetic license. Hey? 1 second. Football's poetic license. I'm trying to find it over here, mate. I think I got it. Right, I have it. I'm buying that. Absolutely. Yep, I've got it. Joe Morris on foils. £10 bargain. Right. Thanks for that, Joe. I'm going to buy that for my dad. He'll love that for Christmas. Is there an audiobook version? Let me know in the comments down below. If not, I'll just get the paperback. Guilherme looked decent when he came on Saturday. I may even give him some more game time in the coming weeks. The manager crap to rather have Moyes again instead of Julian. What is the JLo system? Pulling player positions randomly from a hat, as far as I can tell. We should get Joey Bellingham in at West Ham. Would be great. He's better than Jude. Wow, big words. Should now get Graham Potter or Thomas Frank. I actually said Thomas Frank to take over from Moyes, actually, so I'm not against that one. Kudus is a 10. He said it himself, but Bowen on the right, somewhere on the left, Kudus in the 10, and a midfield pair of Paquetá and Alvarez. I don't think that midfield pair works. I just really don't. Paquetá and Alvarez, that actually scares me. Kudus on the right wing is good last season. Agreed. How do we all feel about Mourinho since he's asked for a last dance in the Prem? God, Mourinho at West Ham. I would take 2 years of chaos just for the memories. I would. Well, Avid, that's what it should be. Lopetegui is cautious and does not want to try it, and it's frustrating. Tim Starton is not the only one picking the players. It's 3 of them, and this doesn't work in any team. Get that tosser out, David Sutherland. Joe Morris, not to mention our 70s Winners' Cup run. The Anderlecht final was legendary. I'm definitely getting this book for my dad, by the way. Thanks a lot, Joe. What a man. Okay. Barry, this is going to be the last comment of the night. I've said it since before Moyes. When I want Eddie Howe as our manager, and Tim would work well with him as well. Wow. Top man, Joe. I will buy it on paperback for sure. And I'll be sure to leave you a decent review, mate. No problem. Right, guys. So, as I said, this has been my first show back in about a month. My name is Jamie, mate. My name is Jamie. Thanks a lot, mate. Find me on Jamie Talks on Twitter and whatnot. If you do want to give me a follow, I'll give you a follow back and give you a book a retweet and whatnot. Moyes beat Everton 2-0 in 22-23 and Julian 0-0. Right, Sam. As I said, guys, so short one for me tonight. But I am back now every Wednesday. Bloody hell, Joe. What a man. Thanks, Jamie. You're a gentleman and a scholar. It's the first time I've been called a gentleman and a scholar in a while. I appreciate that, mate. Barry Clark. Thanks, Jamie. Nice to see you, bro. Top man. I've been to one game this season. I might not go to anymore. I don't blame you there, Stu. I go all the time because I live next to the stadium. I live in Stratford, so it's just ideal. But yeah, getting sick and tired of dedicating my Saturdays to Dross. But that's what we do as football fans. Follow West Ham through the highs and lows. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going through the lows once again, and they're a little bit too familiar as a West Ham fan. But anyway, as I said, guys, I am back. Apologies for being away for about a month or so, and thanks again to Russ and everyone on the channel for having me back. I will be here every Wednesday at 9 p.m. for the wrap-up. We'll be talking all sorts of things about West Ham every week. Hopefully talking about some sort of positive news next week. Maybe something else has happened at the club. Who knows? Fingers crossed. We will always have Prague for sure. One of the best days of my life. Absolutely. But guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I will see you all later. You can find me at Jamie Talks on all platforms if you do want to give me a follow and talk to me on Twitter or whatnot. I'm go back and forth and argue a little bit more about West Ham, I am always available. Nice one. I will see you all later. Cheers.